Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the concept that um, it doesn't matter what happens on the ground in Ukraine at this point. For Vladimir Putin, he has already lost the war on the international stage. All right, so what I just said, that comes from Bo from the Fifth Column. He said it, and the reason why we're talking about it today is I think it's a powerful statement and it's important to understand, and it's 100% true in my humble opinion. So Bo, the Fifth Column, brilliant guy. I totally disagree with half the things, with half his positions. I think he's essentially a socialist. I think he's definitely a socialist, right? But he is brilliant, and he has really figured out how to communicate things concisely, and he does a great job of interacting with and communicating with his followers. And I think he is paying attention to the news and giving his open and honest opinion on it, right? And I just have a lot of respect for him, even though I massively disagree with his overall stance, right? So that's reality, right? But I'm going to springboard off his idea. All right, so let's talk about this because boy did he nail it, right? And there's a lot here. So he's saying it doesn't really happen. It doesn't really matter what happens on the ground, right? Now, what can happen on the ground, right? Well, one, Vladimir Putin can get absolutely smacked down and defeated. That's definitely a possibility. The Ukrainian people are fighting like wolverines, right, for every inch of their land, right? Mariupol was under constant shelling. There were 300,000 people who stayed. 300,000 people. They could have been out on day one, right? They could have been like, "Oh, I'm frightened. I'm going to run," like. But the reality is, they stayed. That is incredible to see. People like, you're going to have to take it. We're staying right here. We're not moving, right? Like, we're ready to pay the 10-pint price. There's so much courage being displayed by the Ukrainian people saying, this is our homeland. We are not going anywhere. We are a sovereign nation. And we don't care what the West thinks. We don't care what Russia thinks. We are going to protect what's ours, right? And I'll tell you right now, I'm paying attention. This is an absolute model for every nation in the world. And the reason why is we have to pay attention, because if you think that that Vladimir Putin is the last global villain that's going to rise, you ain't paying attention, man. Like, I really feel what's happening to him is permissioning new global villains. I think President Joe Biden is creating a rich, deep, black, verdant soil for global villains to grow in, right? It's like, because he's like, if you do global villainy, we will impose a yes fly zone over the country that you are attacking, right? Like, we'll make sure, and then we'll also we'll do a bunch. We'll like put in toothless sanctions that don't really hurt you. Like, it's just like President Joe Biden is telling every global villain out there, every potential global villain out there, free reign, get to work, right? Like, it's rough. It's really rough, right? So basically, you have this situation where you're dealing with all this, right? And now one thing I think is really, really interesting is, so he can get defeated, or he might win, right? He might be allowed to keep those two parts of Ukraine that he said belong to Russia, and then he backs out, or he might defeat all of Ukraine, just blast every building to rubble, and just make every person there pay the 10-point price, and then take it, right? But at this point, it doesn't matter what happens, right? And the reason why is, on the international stage, President Volodymyr Zelensky has absolutely destroyed Vladimir Putin. And the reason why is by extending this special military operation that Vladimir Putin had into an actual, very real, the most public war that's ever been fought, right? He has exposed Vladimir Putin as a global villain, right? And that label is not going to come off. There's going to be a ton of revisionism, and there's already people in America on major news sources saying, really singing the praises of Vladimir Putin. Like, go over to the Hill. Kim Iverson is saying that, what choice did Vladimir Putin have? I'm like, wow, holy cows. Like, are you kidding? Like, very brilliant lady, very smart lady. I applaud her courage for saying something bold, right? But she's outrageously wrong, right? Like, and so, so the reality is, that's the part that Volodymyr Zelensky that is the real victory here, right? Is no matter what Vladimir Putin accomplishes on the ground, he is completely seen as a global villain, right? And so he really doesn't get to walk away from that. And I think, and that in that way, Zelensky has defeated him. We have to pay attention to that in America, because how did Volodymyr Zelensky utterly, raucously defeat Vladimir Putin on the international stage? He did it with one thing: celebrity. He is a celebrity. He has powerful presence, right? And so Vladimir Putin is an old school politician. He walks on camera constantly and makes mistakes no celebrity in the world would ever make, right? He has 20-foot long tables, right? And it looks like a joke. People are laughing at him, right? Like saying, "What? This looks like it comes out of a cartoon," right? Like, are you frightened of someone? Like, what is happening here, right? Any celebrity would know that this makes him look alien and uncharismatic and unsociable, right? The other thing is, every time Vladimir Putin puts his face on camera, he's frowning. He's frowning, right? Like, my daughters were in dance class, and one of their dance teachers, she was like, "You on stage, you got the biggest smile on your face ever," right? Like, that's just the way it is, right? And they did it automatically in every performance. They had these huge smiling faces, right? And it was interesting because they would join other dance troupes and they'd be smiling, right? And like half the other the dancers would be frowning, right? And so Vladimir Putin looks like, not only is he a villain, but he looks like a villain. He looks like a Disney villain because he's like, "There's no joy in my life. Let me assure you of that every single time you see me," right? And you're like, "Well, yeah, I guess I see why you're so savagely horrible to everybody else in the world, because you're clearly joyless," right? Whereas Volodymyr Zelensky, who is a trained actor and a celebrity, this going forward presence, right, and understanding how powerful the camera is going to be critical. And we have no time for politicians who aren't media trained to the 9th degree, right? Politicians are advisors now. They have no business at the presidential level. Going forward, it's only going to be celebrity. It should only be celebrities. And the reason why is, it's like if you're going to a knife fight and the politicians are showing up with no blade, right? Like, it's just their fisticuffs and the other person has a blade. And that's what you saw here. Like, President Volodymyr Zelensky absolutely destroyed Vladimir Putin. And the reason why is Vladimir Putin didn't even know the arena he was fighting in. That's the issue. That is the issue. And so I cannot stress enough, celebrity is absolutely a very clear and powerful and 100% necessary component of being a president. Volodymyr Zelensky has just shockingly proved this to the world, right? And Vladimir Putin could not. It's almost like the inversion of Volodymyr Zelensky. He makes choices constantly that alienate him from everyone, even his own people, right? And so the reality is, if we elect politicians to be president, we're going to have a Vladimir Putin image problem. Not even the regular problems he has. He just has no concept of what modern leadership looks like. And modern leadership is being able to control the camera. It's one of the reasons why Trump was so powerful. It's one of the reasons why Hillary was so weak. Every time she showed up on camera, people liked her less, right? That's not a model to win, and she did not win, right? Like, and so this is really very important to understand. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.